Welcome to our final banishment. Congratulations to our final three, Jody, Tommy, and Erica. It has been roughly 3 weeks of mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, turmoil, just in general, challenges. Tonight is final banishment. How it will work is you guys will give your opening statements. I'm just gonna say it in order that I see you guys right now. So it'll be Jody, Tommy, and then Erica. And then at the very end for closing statements, we'll go backwards and it will be Erica, Tommy, Jody. The jurors will get to ask questions. They can ask follow-up questions, clarification. We will go from the first juror to the most recent juror. And actually, speaking of the jury, let me bring them on now. Jury, if you could please turn your videos on.
Oh.
I'm missing one juror. There he is. Okay. So yes, we will begin with opening statements. Jody, the floor is yours first. And I told you guys roughly 2 to 3 minutes. So let's keep it around there. I'm going to start a timer. Jody, begin whenever you're ready.
All right. Hi, everyone. Jury, it's finally good to be able to speak to you guys again. I am excited for tonight. I'm ready for all your questions. So please don't be scared to ask me anything. I know you're not anyway. I just want to start off by saying I decided to play this game not because I wanted to make friends or because I wanted to be a part of a new community, but because I am genuinely obsessed with games and this specific game and the CBS show that I won't be titling right now for copyright reasons, but it's games like that that I get so excited about. So I know going into this, I had to just lower my threat level as much as possible. And I really upplayed my California dude, stoner bro persona, which is this part of me, but at the same time, I had to downplay this real fan in me. You guys didn't see my buff collection and I didn't talk about the show a lot with you guys. That's just part of me, but I didn't want to come across as too eager. So going into this, I just really wanted to lay low and just really get information any way I could. And right off the bat, going into Buns of Teal, I knew that there could be something going on with the social group, and that was 3. And when there's 3 out of 6, you just have to find your way in. And although I think Molly was my closest ally, I knew she was rubbing people the wrong way with how she handled the daisy chain and stuff. So I was able to ex-nay that relationship to try and build stronger bonds with my new team. And specifically Scott and Colleen, I formed a trio with, and I maintained a relationship with Joanna separately, and it was a little more personal than it was game. When we got to the swap, I was just with Scott, and it was very clear from conversations with Tommy and Erica, as well as my conversations with Shannon, that both the Flamingos and the Royals viewed him as a target and someone he couldn't trust. I have gained this trust with Scott, but I knew I had to make new relationships as well, and I just went in and said, yeah, I think he's shady too, and I could have been the next to go if Elisa hadn't gone. So from there, I was still able to keep my relationship with Scott, but build new ones. And that really did help me. Also, I got that advantage on the first advantage, and I really wanted to know who else had it. And Shannon really, really wanted to work with me, but unfortunately made the mistake of telling me about her advantage. And going into the merge, I was really, really afraid of the Royals and their tight bond. So I knew that getting rid of Shannon would not only allow me to get rid of her advantage and not be able to will it to anyone, but also knock down a number in the Royals. All the meantime, I'm just gaining closer connections with Katie and with Erica and with Tommy, and I'm open to new connections come the merge. But come the merge, I was perceived as someone who could really go any which way. And that was clear by the Royals talking to me, that was clear with Flamingos, and my old relationship with Joanna. I really wanted to maintain being in every conversation and putting myself out there while still maintaining a low threat level. And I really think I've done a good job of doing that. I'm really happy about the game I've played. I clearly have a lot more to say, and I know we're running low on time, but anything you want to know about my game, just please, I'm here for it. I'm proud of the way I played. Yeah, that's all I have to say right now.
Okay, thank you, Jody. Next, we will go to Tommy.
Hi, friends. I missed you. So when I saw my friend Corey play season 3 of Quarantine Island, I said to myself that I need to play this game. So I started watching the show on CBS, and within the month and a half or the 2 months before this game started, I watched 14 and a half seasons of the show, and I studied some of the best players of this game. I came into this game with a very clear strategy, and I mentioned it at the first merge Banishment. I said that the most important aspect of this game is not your perception of others, but how others perceive you. And so it was my goal in this game to control everyone else's perception of me. I too was playing a social game, but I did not have the big Nick energy. Instead, I was showing that it's not the size of your Nick, it's how you use it. So while I know that there's personal growth that comes with the game, I think it's way more important to know who you are before coming into this game. And I know exactly who I am. I know that my strength is winning others over, and I know that I can come off as someone who is just here to have a good time, who is just here to make friends. And so I leaned into those aspects of me to make sure that I was coming off as someone people wanted to be around, someone people wanted to play this game with, but even more important, someone that people wanted to protect and take further into this game. I was also always on the right side of the votes. Every time I was at Banishment, I knew exactly where the votes were gonna go. And I will say I had a strong hand in controlling those votes. I made real, genuine connections with people and tailored my interactions with each and every one of you. But instead of trying to manipulate you to do what you wanted, I was seeing what my relationships were and how I could use that to make a move. I was able to understand each and every one of you to gather information, but also understand cues that you didn't mean to give off. Like when I caught Keith lying about watching Big Brother because he was actually chatting with the Royals, because I know, Keith, that you watched the live feeds and you should have already known that Davon got the veto the night before. Anyway, I was able to use all that information to strategize and further myself in the game and also my allies. I can only imagine how frustrating it is to be blindsided and have to fight from being down in numbers against an alliance who wasn't willing to budge. But I worked with folks who were so solid with me that any move that would have helped any of you get your footing in this game would have been a detriment to my game. And as we saw at last night's Banishment, I played with people who wanted to take me to the end no matter what. And I hope you can see and respect that. I played a very, very well-rounded game, from strategy, from challenges, from the relationships I made. And I stand by the statement I made at Final Five that I do believe I was the center of this game. And I'm positive that if you have any questions about any of the moves that were made, I can tell you that I was part of making those happen. I look forward to all of your questions.
Thank you, Tommy. We're gonna go to Erica next.
Hello, everyone. So I'll start off by acknowledging right off the bat that I played a very subtle game, a very invisible game, as you may have noticed, as my name wasn't written down a lot. And that was intentional from the very start. I like to fully introduce myself because my social game started before this game even started. It started from the moment I put in my application. So to fully introduce myself, I am someone who many know works in marketing and film stuff and all this stuff, but I'm actually the director of marketing. So all of my work revolves around branding, on audience testing, on PR, and dealing with PR fires, of copywriting and figuring out how thousands of people will perceive a specific message said in 24 characters or less. So from the very beginning, I wanted to make sure that people didn't feel intimidated by me because of a title or of experience I have. And I wanted to shape this perception of me going forward. So that was something I set from the very start. And I think a lot of this was me just making my best guess at how people would view me, and specifically leaning into different parts of it or away from things. I've played a social survival game since childhood. My parents are immigrants and I grew up in New Hampshire. So when you grow up in a very homogenous area, you have to survive and adapt socially from a very young age. So I'm very adept at handling multiple personas and controlling which facets of my personality and my very being I'm going to present depending on the company that I'm keeping. So with that being said, I was very mindful of that with each person that I spoke to. And, you know, there were a lot of moments where you saw me like this, or, you know, feeling shaky, and I am an anxious person, very anxious all the time. But kind of acknowledging what Joanna said the other night during Banishment, the game I wanted to play coming in was a game of deception. And as Dan has mentioned before, online, I've been doing this for a very long time. I've been in online role-playing communities from childhood. So creating personas and upkeeping fictionalized perceptions is something that I am an expert at. And I knew coming in that a lot of people would perceive me possibly as a mental player, just because that's something that I've dealt with for a very long time, wearing glasses, you know, people just be like, oh, you know, you're good at math and all this stuff. So while people thought that, I laid the foundation for someone who is very anxious and naive and gullible. No one believed Devante, I'll be honest with you on that. But that was something that I wanted to push and emphasize, because I think the moment you start to believe that I'm naive and gullible is the moment I can get my foot through the door and start laying my traps. So I acknowledge that there were a lot of moves in this game that I cannot fully own. There were a lot of similarities in my gameplay with Tommy and Jody alike. But I really encouraged the jury to define which characteristics they value the most in this game and will want to cherish when they go forward in this vote tonight.
Thank you, Erica. We will now begin with our jury questions, and we will begin with Micah. Micah, you can begin whenever you're ready. You got to unmute first.
Yeah, got that. Okay, I want to start off by saying that I do respect all three of you as individuals, and I want to congratulate you all on making it to the final three. So well done. If I may speak on behalf of the jury as a whole, I think that we have not reached a decision at this time, and you have the opportunity to convince us tonight that you are worthy of winning the Quarantine Island. However, to be frank, none of you personally have earned my vote, and I think you all know that. Overall, I've seen the three of you play a rather cowardly game, hiding within your alliance and never really breaking the status quo, just slowly voting out the lowest person on the totem pole to make it to the finals, and forgetting to have regard for the people who ultimately will decide your fate in this game. I look forward to hearing from each of you about your individual games, from your own perspectives, and why you deserve to win. However, I would like to start out by hearing from each of you why the other two people should win based on their gameplay.
I can go first. I think if I want to build a case for Tommy and Jody, I would say for Tommy played very courageously. I will counter what you said about this cowardly notion, because Tommy played such a courageous game in terms of sticking his neck out for a lot of these votes. You have to go out there and start conversations and start making moves. And I do credit him with a lot of that, of, you know, approaching Scott, of approaching Nicholas and Joey during crucial moments. So that is a very courageous and hard thing to do. For Jody, for him, his courage in this game, I think, is something to consider. It seems a lot of people say, oh, it's really easy to just latch on to a group and float on with them. But from the get-go, Jody has had to play a very brave game of not only being at the bottom in that original Buns team, but also figuring out ways to survive and figuring out ways to trust people that he didn't have a lot of contact with for quite some time. So that's a very hard thing to do in this game. So they've both played very brave games.
I'll go. I think Tommy has played a really good game. I think Tommy's won crucial immunities when needed to, and has been, like myself, someone very active on Slack, and has used that in Tommy's advantage to, sort of manipulate people and throw people off, which I think is a good game. I also think Erica's played a super good game in the way that I don't think she's received any votes against her at a banishment. And I don't think that I think people underestimated her. And to be underestimated in this game and then to make it all the way to the end it's huge, and it's a great game. That's what I'll say.
I think Erica has played an incredible game in the way that she has managed her perception, or the way others have perceived her. She's really done an incredible job, especially for being an Aries, for knowing when to charge and when to take action and when to hide back and make others believe things about her that were not true. I think Jody's played an incredible game because he was on the bottom and had a harder way to get here and climbing up. He was on the bottom of the royals and or the buns, and had to do a lot more lying and backstabbing to get to where he was, which I wasn't able to do myself, especially with being at such a swing vote spot. Working directly with royals and buns and flamingos is a lot more challenging than being in an alliance that has always been with numbers.
Micah, any follow-ups?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you so much, Micah. We're going to go on to Nicholas next. Can't hear you, can't hear you, can't hear you. No, and it says you're unmuted, but...
Oh, how about now?
There we go.
It wasn't all the way in. You got to put it in. Hey guys, congrats on making it to three. We all want to be there, and it's no easy feat. So seriously, congrats. I think you guys are all great people. So don't hold it against me if I have some criticisms in the game. We've talked a lot about perception from the merge vote on, especially, and I think you guys, it sounds to me like you were aware of your perception. You were like, well, whatever. You guys we're going to put you in the position that we're all in the end together. We all made a lot of the same moves together, and we're now forced to vote for one of you. Micah asked you to build the case for each other. I'm going to ask for the rest of this. I need you to talk about your singular game and why you deserve to win over the other two, because that's going to help us immensely in deciding. For me, I'm super evenly split between all three of you, because I feel like, though the door was open between Tommy and Erica with my dialogue talking to them, I kind of always felt like our conversations were super transparent, and I knew where you guys were already always at. I told you where I was going to vote, but it was never actually that on that person. And Jody, you didn't reach out to me at all, really, except at the beginning of the game. We didn't talk. It just felt like the only connection we had was through Micah. And I always feel like not leaving those doors open is a major flaw in a game. And so that's why I'm split right now. Essentially, I felt like you guys did take the safe bet in sticking with your numbers. It worked out for you. But I don't think any of you really took a gamble with your game to put yourself in a position of being in the numbers, but sitting next to people who don't have identical games to you. And because of that, I am going to make you guys do the gamble I did. And I got rocks. So we're going to do this in order. Jody, I'm going to have you pick first. If there's something you feel like you want to say to me that you think it's important for me to know, please go ahead. I want to keep an open mind, but I'm not going to hold my breath because I kept an open mind through all of the merge. So I would love to hear it. Pick your rock, your first, bud.
All right. Thank you, Nicholas. I'll pick rock number 3. And Yeah, I agree that our communication was very little once the merge hit. And I think you're right. Our connection was Micah, who I did have the opportunity to talk to a little bit. We matched on our Zoom and we got to chat a little bit when we were on the spa, when I learned that everyone knew about Shannon's idol, because we had that connection and I was able to get that from her. Ultimately, though, it was the group chat between you, me, and Joey and Micah that made me feel a little bit awkward, because I was getting the sense that I was being lied to, because the conversation wasn't really going anywhere and I knew we were in different spots. And at that point in the game, I had already made a lot of great connections with the Flamingos, but I already had my OG connections with people like Scott and Joanna from Teal. And we know it's a numbers game and there's got to be a pecking order, and I was looking out for myself. So I'm sorry if you take it personally. I don't think you will, because I know you love this game too, but I think just in this scenario, our games weren't like matching up.
Okay, next, Tommy. This was based off how I see you guys, so that's the pick. You have one of these guys.
I will pick the second rock. I want to challenge your opinion that I did not take any risks, because my risk was working with Scott. I knew that I knew Scott was sketchy because of the weasel comment, and I knew you all were targeting Scott. So I saw that as an ally opportunity. I knew you were too focused on him to care about what I was doing. Another risk that I took, Nicholas, is that on that night, I spoke out against you because I wanted you to believe you knew where the votes were, when 2 minutes before that banishment, I gathered my numbers and we switched the votes 2 minutes before we went into that banishment. And we switched it because we knew that you guys knew what was going on. And so I made a lot of risky moves in this game.
Cool. I guess, Erica, the choice was made for you. I know you wanted to go to rocks. You didn't get to choose. Sorry.
I've been wanting to go to rocks at least 3 different times. And you know, it's interesting that you say that we moved very safely, because none of us budged during that rocks vote. And the cowardly way to go out would have been for me to been like, okay, Nicholas, like I'm joining you, like please save me or whatever. But it takes a lot of courage to look in the face of pure gambling and just be like, hell yeah, let's do it. And you know, Keith, I love you, but we're here and you're not. And you know, this was a move where you went against the numbers and it didn't work out. So, you know, you can say, oh, like it's safe to move in numbers and all this stuff, but strategically it worked out. And I think there's an alternate universe where the 3 people sitting up here would be Joey, you, and Micah. So that's my argument against that. And I do think, just to talk about our relationship very briefly, you know, there were red flags from the moment we started talking, and I think it was very obvious going in that we would never trust each other completely just because of the way the numbers were in that game.
Yeah, I totally get that. I will say that Zoom called that whole era of the game, that was totally genuine with you guys. I mean, I wanted to separate you from Katie, but that was totally genuine. Cool. Yeah, I don't have any follow-ups. I'm just going to be listening eagerly, guys.
Thank you, Nicholas. Next, we're going to go to Keith. Can't hear you.
Really? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Congrats to all 3 of you. You made it to the end. We did not. No hard feelings. Great gameplay on all sides. I want all of you to really fight for your win and to argue like you really want it. I want to be able to see that drive and determination and the desire and the passion to actually earn it and to argue for it. I'm already leaning towards someone. I'm not going to clarify who, but my vote is still up for grabs. So how you argue is going to be important for me. I ask that you all not play the game right now. Like no manipulation, just be honest and vocal about the game that you already played. No strategy is necessary. Just argue your case. Okay, so I have 2 questions. The first one's pretty quick. And who talked last just now? Did Erica or Tommy? Okay, so I'll go Erica, Tommy, Jody. First question, just the name, just a one-word answer. If it was a final two and you yourself were not sitting there, but the other two were, who would you vote for? Just the name. So Erica first, who would you vote for?
I'd vote for Tommy.
Tommy, who would you vote for?
I would vote for Erica.
Jody, who would you vote for?
I'd vote for Erica.
Okay. And then the second question, many times we praise the execution of big moves in this game, but a winner not only engages great offense, but defense as well. At what point in the game were you or a close ally specifically in danger of getting voted out? And what did you yourself actively do to prevent that? Let's go backwards. So Jody, you go first.
Well, I honestly, to be honest, I think the one time my game was potentially in danger was last night when we found out it was going to be a vote instead of like the normal head-to-head basis. And I was concerned that the relationship Tommy and Erica had with Katie was stronger than the one that I made with them. But ultimately, I think it was the bond that I created with them and the alliance that we created together. I showed my complete trust with them that they decided to go with me over them, over Katie rather. And so, yeah, but that was the one time I felt vulnerable in this game, was last night. So I guess that's the only time I could feel like I was endangered, to answer your question.
Can't hear you.
You're muted.
There we go.
Oh, I said, can I offer like a pushback?
Sure, of course. Yeah.
Okay, if you were not in danger until yesterday, can you name a point like where like a close ally was and like what you did to actively like prevent that then?
Yeah, so when we first got on to Royals 2.0, it was clear that it was either going to be Shannon or Scott in the event that we go to a banishment ceremony. Scott, I wanted to use as a shield basically once I knew his perception in this game, which was like this wheezy, sneaky little dude, which honestly, he's not. And he just isn't. But at least he wasn't to me, and I don't think his threat was that big. But I really wanted Shannon gone. Shannon made the mistake of telling me about her advantage. With that information, I took it to the Flamingos and said, hey, here's this information, basically. Like, Shannon has this advantage. Meanwhile, I also have this advantage. All the details she's telling me about it, she left some things out. She didn't tell me that she could will it to someone. But I knew that, obviously, because I had it. And statistically, I was sure that either Tommy, Katie, or Erica had it for the Flamingos as well. And so with that information, I said, listen, she can will it to someone, and that would just mean it would go to the Royals. In the event of a merge, they'd have an extra vote, and we could be really screwed. So I think that was a point where my ally Scott was in danger, and I came up with this move to get rid of Shannon, which not only protected Scott, but it protected me, and it really set up a smooth foundation for me to get to the end.
Nope.
Again, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, moving on to Tommy to speak to your defense. Just to restate the question, if you need it, what was one particular incident where you or a close ally was in danger of getting voted out, and what did you actively do to prevent that?
I'll give two examples. First example is winning these last two immunities were very, very important because it could have been any of us going home, and I really think I could have been going home if I didn't win those two. The other opportunity was orchestrating the 14 vote banishment. That was an opportunity that anybody could have gathered numbers to take out any of the Flamingos. So I was really terrified. However, as a strategic person I literally made flashcards with everybody's votes, and I made everybody's names on there. And I had a plan set out from the time that I had to speak to everybody to make sure that the plan would not go to hitch. So from 11 o'clock in the morning, I spoke to Katie, and then I followed up and spoke to Erica and Jody, and then I followed up and made sure I wasn't talking to Joey and Scott until the end of the day to make sure that they did not have enough time to be sketched out and make something happen, because I wanted them to think that I was with them. So I was able to protect my allies from going home by strategizing that entire vote. And it literally went, I wish I could show you the picture, exactly as I thought the votes were gonna go out, minus one person voted twice on Scott instead.
Awesome. And then Erica, do you need me to restate the question?
No, I think I'm good. I think my most offensive moment was this same double banishment, the 14 vote. And that was specifically because I knew when I was looking at the math that Joey and Scott could theoretically pool their votes together on a single person. And in doing so, there was one particular swing vote that was super important that could have totally crushed all of the strategy that we had come up with. And that vote was Joanna. And, it was really important during that day of needing someone to reach out to Joanna and making sure that she knew what the plan was, because I knew that Joanna had a relationship with Scott, working on the same team on the Buns. So getting in there and making sure that Joey and Scott didn't have Joanna's vote was a really important defensive move to save, at least, to make sure that one person wasn't going home from this.
Awesome. Thank you guys for answering my questions. Congrats again. That's all I have.
Thank you, Keith. We're going to go next to Scott.
Hey friends, good to see you guys. Congratulations on making it to the final three and having very cute lighting and backgrounds and stuff. I will say overall, we all do congratulate you guys for making it to this point. I think your opening statements were really funny because the identity management that you talked about is exactly the game that I think kind of knew you were all doing. So I wouldn't hang your hat too much on that, but I will say everything else is interesting and fine. But there still is a lot of room to differentiate yourselves from each other and talk about actual decisions or actions that would just make you a more interesting winner. I think a lot of people are up in the air. I've kind of already decided, but I was curious. As you look back at the game, is there one decision that you made or risk that you took or challenge that you participated in where your original thought was the thing that pulled through that you were really proud of? Or tangentially, was there an original thought you came up with that didn't come through, but that would tell us more about your individual game that we could learn from? I don't care who starts.
I honestly, the proudest moment that I've had was planning out everything that could happen during the double vote banishment. Like that one, I was literally up all night or trying to figure out any possible way. I had 6 different plans of what could happen. And I knew that it was important to make sure that I can set the timing out for everything. The way I was talking to you and Joey was most important too, because I knew if I was to Zoom with Joey, he would know I was lying because he's a lawyer. And so I needed to make sure that I was entertaining his plans, but the plans that I gave both of you were plans that could have worked out for both of us. I could have taken Katie out. It was a real plan that could have happened, but I needed to show that I was actually working with you to formulate these plans for you to believe me. However, when you saw the banishment last night, all of these people said they wanted to take me to the end, so it was not worth it for me to follow through with those plans. The fact that I was able to predict what would happen at the end is probably my proudest accomplishment, and I cannot stop thinking about that.
I can go next. So I think 2 of the qualities that really define my style of gameplay, I think many might view as a sort of negative because of the society that we live in. But a lot of my gameplay was defined by reducing my own ego. It wasn't something where I had to be there taking credit of all right, this is it. A lot of it was so much based in basically working as a sounding board of massaging the way something was marketed out, of helping to basically optimize the message. So a lot of that is not super visible or incredibly tangible because it was something kind of unspoken, happening in the background throughout the game. But the other side of that is also just, I reduced my own ego in this game and worked from a sort of team-based mindset, which I know a lot of you view as a negative because there can only be one winner and whatever. But I think that was important because there are a lot of moments where my Aries impulsivity actually started to bubble up to the surface. And I was just like, you know what if I exploded this? And one of those moments was I woke up on that day of the 14 vote banishment. And I was just like, what if we did, betray Katie and vote her out? And what if that plan actually did happen? I call that the explosive route. And, maybe you'll call me a coward for not following through on that, but I do see a world where I do act on that impulse, and then I'm over here on the jury and not in the top 3.
I echo what Erica says about sometimes certain moves and decisions and conversations being a little bit invisible. And for me, though, I think the reason why I'm able to sit here at the final 3 was because of that first merge vote. We all knew it was in my opinion, it was the craziest day on Slack. Things were going everywhere. And the one little outs I had of hope where I could get information was through Micah from the OG Royals, because we did have somewhat of a bond. And Micah did make the mistake of telling me 40 minutes before banishment that she said Keith messaged her, Joey, and Nicholas saying, I want to talk to you guys a half hour before banishment. So right off then there, I'm like, okay, well, if Keith, the man who's supposed to be voting with me in this vote, is talking to the 3 people that I'm trying to go after, I know that's not a good look. And I immediately knew that Keith was going to flip, and that I already had my doubts there. So I was like, okay, I have to take this information to the people I know I'm voting with, which are Tommy, Erica, Katie, and you, Scott. And so I went, hey, Micah just told me this about Keith. We got to change up the vote. And that's how we decided with Micah, because we thought she was least likely to have something in her pocket, and she didn't. And she went home, and Joey flushed his idol.
Scott, any follow-ups? No? Okay. Next, we're going to go to Joey. Joey, we'll set a timer.
What's my timer? I feel like we're doing great on time.
We're killing it on time.
Okay.
Oh,
good. Okay, because I actually wanted to start unconventionally, because I just had a few quick follow-ups based on what other people said, but I didn't want to interrupt anyone. So if you guys could just say one sentence for these quick answers, that would be super helpful. Because I am a lawyer, I do take lots of notes, and I'm using this to make my decision. I also wanted to say, because we talked about your lighting, your background, your outfits are also incredibly cute, all 3 of you. So I do want to give a shout out to that specifically. Okay, I was just going to start with Erica real quick. You had mentioned the world where if Katie would have gone home that night, that you wouldn't have made it. Can you just kind of quickly just say who would have been the people that you would have seen would have gone next if it was let's say Katie or Scott at top, at the 6 and 7 spot?
I mean, maybe it would have been you, but sending Katie home would have been a double-edged sword in terms of Katie is so strong as an individual player. She has killed it on so many challenges. And I knew that she had a great resume. So it would have been great because sending Katie home is just all right, she's not in the final 3. And, the jury no longer has this option. But the other side of that is, again, back to that numbers vote of, okay, Katie goes home, there's no longer this alliance. If I send Katie home with this explosive plan, is that now breaking the trust that has really strengthened this game for so long? So it's a double-edged sword, and I decided to go against my first impulse because strategically and objectively, it was better not to send her home at that point.
That makes sense. My other real quick one was that you were kind of mentioning as a move, Joanna, getting her in before that double 2 votes thing. Joanna, was trying to pitch to other people to get you out that night. So how would you respond to, saying that, that was a good move because you were the one that, helped Joanna when she was really, going for you, so it didn't seem like it really worked that well, I guess? What would you say to that? And yeah, I guess you have to just, a sentence or 2, because I got to get to the other 2 and then ask my real question.
I mean, I know that Joanna views me as a threat, but in the end, the votes went on you and Scott, so I think it worked out.
That makes sense. Okay, so then Jody, you were mentioning that one of the things that you did was save Scott when Shannon ended up going home. I just am curious how you consider that saving Scott when it seemed like Shannon actually was going for Tommy that night. Yeah. Just in the sentence, like why you thought that you were saving Scott.
I was saving Scott by telling people the information about Shannon's idol. Like, I really think that the three flamingos didn't trust Scott to begin with, and that trust had to be gained over time. And so I think like both can be true.
Okay. And then Tommy, my other quick ones were, would you just say like yes or no? Would you say that the double banishment, like the whole plan to like come to Scott, would you say that was your move and like you were the one in charge of that? Would you like take full ownership for that?
Yeah, I presented it to everyone right away in the morning. I know Erica had alternative plans, but I gave my counter plan and that was my plan.
Okay, cool. And so my real question, so like when I watch the CBS show or any other entertainment show, I like to cheer for the underdogs in these situations. So I want to vote for someone who I think was an underdog who's really like overcome something. So I'll start with Tommy and then go backwards to Jody and Erica and that the reverse order I just went in. But Tommy, if you could start first, just kind of saying how you believe you're an underdog and how you've overcome something both in this game and even also both personally, if you want to intertwine both of those and why that should make me vote for you.
I think I'm an underdog in the way that I played this game on a personal level. I use drag a lot to kind of overcompensate for my lack of self-esteem and my lack of confidence in this game. And my challenge to myself for this game was to be able to be confident in myself and choose my own decisions. I always ask so many people for things and opinions before I do anything, but I knew in this game that it was going to be about me and being able to make those decisions on my own and further myself in this game. So I'm incredibly proud of the way I've carried myself in this game, and I think that's my underdog story.
I think that's great. I think that is great. I think you should definitely be very proud of the game that you played. And a quick early perception was always that like if there were three flamingos in the finals, that you were in a very good spot. So I'm just curious, real quickly, why you ended up thinking that, like, why you think that Jody and Erica are a better two for you than you, Katie, and Erica.
Is that was for me, right?
Not just for you. Yeah, sorry, it was a follow-up. I just thought of it.
So when we got to the swap, I actually made an alliance with Erica and Jody called the Totally Spies, and nobody knew that we were working together as closely as we were. And as close as I was with Erica and Katie, I knew that I was going to be able to pick up Jody from being on the bottom of the buns to gather as much information. And I knew that we had more different games than Katie and I did, which is why we're here.
Okay, thank you. Jody, you're up next for Underdog Story.
I'm in a similar boat too, where I am an emotional person and sensitive person, and also I was lacking a little bit of confidence before going into this. And then when the daisy chain happened and I was fourth to last after like thinking I was having good conversations with people, it didn't help me whatsoever either. So I was shaken at the beginning of this game and was like, oh God, like I need to do something. And I felt like I have just been working my way from not the top and not the bottom and like just like getting there close enough each and every time. And like the two people I'm sitting with right now had they had an easier road to the end. Like I am the only one who isn't like an OG flamingo, and this could be any one of you sitting here instead of me. But ultimately I really had to pick myself up, like work on my social skills, which is something I am like not great at. And like, that's just truth as like an introvert and someone who like doesn't go on the computer a lot either. Like I had to overcome a lot of things because of just the nature of this game. And that itself, I think shows that, wow, like I could really do this. Like when I was filling out my application, they said, what's your weakest? Mental, physical, social. I I mean, looking back, I wrote social, but clearly like it's mental. I mean, sorry, looking back, I wrote social was my weakest. And I think that turned out to be my strongest because we know I can't do 12 push-ups and I cry. And like, there are certain parts of this game that really get at me, but I realized like, holy crap, I can be this social player. Like I can talk to people and I can be in everyone's ear and I can know where the votes are gonna go and I can vote correctly. Like, I think I overcame that from being at the bottom at the beginning.
So we, like I watched how great of a plank you did at the beginning. So there was a perception that you threw the push-ups. Is that true?
That is false. I completely overestimated my upper body strength. That being said, I didn't want to win the planks. I will say that. I don't think I could have gone as long as Chris and Shannon could. Honestly, 6 minutes was so long. Like maybe I could have done a minute more, but I wanted to fall off somewhere in the middle to just maintain that sort of like.
So that was like intentional early on, but the push-ups was not, that wasn't you throwing it to get rid of Shannon.
That wasn't me, and me not knowing love songs also, that's just my brain, and I apologize.
Another one too, you said like you're emotional, and I know like the day that that Scott and I went home, you were like upset and because I stirred things up. I told you that Scott had told me that you had an advantage and you were upset about that. Was that genuine that you were really upset, or were you playing that up for me out of curiosity?
Okay, the thing is, your speech got to me just because of what you were saying on a personal level, but then also the whole day, and Tommy and Erica can attest to this, I was crying in tears, knowing that knowing Scott was going home. I put both my votes on you as a way to just be like, Scott has helped me so much in this game, and I have used Scott as a literal shield, basically, because of this persona that was warped in this game, and like, no, I'm the real weasel. Sorry, Scott, Molly was wrong, but it's me, and that's what I had to do. And it was genuine sadness because it meant a friend of mine was leaving the game and it was about to get real.
Got it. Okay, Erica, underdog story.
So I think, very objectively, my underdog story is that in this game particularly is that I don't have any immunity wins under my belt. I haven't, been on the bottom, but I've also not been a person of note for most of this game. No one really voted for me in the superlatives, which I'm super bitter about. But I think in general, my life has been so defined by people who have underestimated me for various reasons. I've, for a very long time, not only have I been a very anxious person, but I've also been a person without a lot of confidence. And a lot of what you're probably seeing right now is just me puffing up my chest and pretending. I think a lot of my drive in the last few years has been defined by a sort of pettiness for how long people have underestimated me. So I wanted to come into this game knowingly letting people underestimate me so that I could prove them wrong at the end.
My only other quick little follow-up was,
Joey, I swear to God.
was that I know that a lot of people have like close relationships with people that have played the game before, but I know you and Cam are really close. Was there one thing that you kind of had learned from either watching him play the game or that you were able to implement successfully into this?
Yeah, my specific strategy, having watched Cameron play, was to do none of what he had done. Because from the first day, he had a target on his back from playing so many idols over and over and over again. And, I think his life in that game was cut short because of how many idols he had played. So, coming into this game, I was just like, all right, fly under the radar for a while. Don't constantly anxiously play your immunity idols if you find them, and you'll be good for quite some time.
Thank you all so much and congratulations. You guys are wonderful.
Thank you, Joey. We will now go to Joanna.
Can you hear me, and is there a delay?
I can't tell about the delay. I feel like yes.
But you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Okay. Congratulations, you three. It's awesome that you're here. I really did want to touch on perception a bit because, as Scott mentioned earlier, it's kind of piggybacking off of that because I think that the game that you guys played really did depend a lot upon having that tight three alliance and not so much about you thinking that we didn't perceive you as such. When it came to Tommy, you know, and you may be like this, but the over dramatic type of vibe, it seemed like a redirect. And Jody, in your own admission, you said you were on the bottom of buns, but I still believe that the alliance was really between you and Colleen and Scott and Erica. I do remember you mentioning that you were born on April 17th. Is that right? Yeah. And in that, I mean, you know, I believe in God, but I was also really deep in astrology at one time. And I know that that is an Aries, that is a fire sign. And you mentioned that as well as a lot of different fantasy in anime before our Zoom banishments and challenges, which brings me to my next question. Oftentimes we come into these games having to battle biases that others automatically have about us or ourselves. How did you use the perceptions people had about you, or ones you thought we had, to your advantage? But also, how did you play outside of those to get ahead in the game without making yourself a target? And Jody, you can go first.
Okay, thank you. Just to touch on what you said too about like the whole perception of my position on Buns of Teal. Like, what was that? To be honest, as part of this game is like, we might never know what would have happened if we had gone to banishment and Elisa didn't withdraw. Like, although I did feel like I had a tight relationship with both Colleen and Scott, I was afraid that because of her stellar challenge performance and you having immunity, that the votes would be on me. But we'll never know because of that. I did feel fairly confident with my relationship with Scott and Colleen. However, I just went with the perception of me, which was that I was at the bottom. And that's what I heard from Erica and Tommy, and that's what I heard from Shannon, which means, okay, the Flamingos think I'm at the bottom, the Royals think I'm at the bottom. Okay, yeah, totally, I'm at the bottom. I need you guys so much. Meanwhile, I'm working with Scott just as much. So I wasn't like, Scott and I worked really well in this game together. So I really did trust our relationship. So that perception of me in the game was incorrect, and I was able to overcome that by still working with Scott, but also making a bigger alliance that got me right here.
Tommy?
I understand that, yes, I am a very overdramatic person, and that was what everyone was focused on, but I needed to do that to hide how strategic I was in this game. Every single thing, every single decision I made in this game was intentional, from suggesting the name flamingos, which is a very non-threatening bird, compared to something like the Royals wearing a crown on the first banishment. People were not focused on us. And also being able to hide. I was voted most strategic by Katie and Scott only, because those were the only two. Oh, and Nicholas. But the people that like put it up, I was not most strategic, but the people that put it up were the only people that saw that strategic side of me, that saw the planning of when to talk to people, where to put votes, how votes would go in the event that someone had advantages. I only showed those to specific people so that I wouldn't be seen as a target, that people were more focused on the people who were outwardly strategic and playing this game.
So I think one of the most important perception pieces of my game was actually picking Devante during the daisy chain. You know, I played into it some of, oh, like, I'm so gullible. Like, I thought he like wanted to take me to the final two, but I knew talking to him, I could pick up on a lot of red flags that it was a very overeager and overzealous promise. So he became a very good shield for myself of being able to point to that and being like, oh, like, I'm so disoriented. I'm, you know, I can't believe, you know, he was telling everyone that you're my number one. So that became a pretty big piece for me, I think, starting out, because I think it was a good way to start talking to people after the team swap of just being like, oh man, like, did Devontae talk to you about being number one, and like going around and like getting confirmations, which I knew in my head from talking to the other flamingos, but it was a good way to kind of slide into people's DMs. You know, I mentioned this at the start, but I am a very anxious person, but there are a lot of moments where I definitely did amp it up and emphasize it to kind of hide what was going on in the brain.
Good. I just have one more, well, two questions really, but I have one real quick question, just out of curiosity. Is there any of the three of you that have made it this far, so the three of you guys here, obviously, that you had some sort of connection with or knew before starting this game?
No.
Erica, Tommy, Jody?
No, I mean,
I knew had a connection to.
I knew of Tommy because I followed him on Instagram once after seeing him on the Instagram for the quarantine island, but I didn't ever reach out or talk to him.
Tommy?
No, I didn't know either of these people. I knew that Erica had followed me because she was friends with Cam, who's friends with my friend Corey, but we had never interacted prior than that.
Jody?
No, I didn't. I don't know anyone in and out of this game. I have 6 friends.
Can I chime in?
Yeah, Nicholas, go ahead.
Tommy, you don't know Chris?
I thought the question was just about us three.
Okay.
But if we wanted to talk about it before, Chris and I had known each other for about 10 years, but we met each other through mutual friends. And then that was pretty much it. And then all of a sudden, because we both are friends with Corey, we both signed up for this game. And then honestly, when we met before at the beginning of this game, I said, I don't think I want to play with you because I feel like that's cheating. And so that's why we did not end up together.
Oh, better man than me. I knew Vic and I said, let's work together.
I just wanted to say, Tommy, who all knew that? Who knew of your previous relationship with, like, Nicholas and I found that out because Nicholas was good at Instagram stalking, but did you disclose that, your relationship with Chris, to anyone, any other players in the game?
No, because I didn't think it was important.
Joanna, any last follow-up questions?
I'm okay right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanna. And now we're going to go to, I almost just said Canady, which is Canada plus Katie. Canady! So cute. Okay, Katie, your turn.
My new favorite nickname. Hi everyone. I'm just happy that you guys are here. I hope you all feel special. And I was gonna ask if you could each name a move that you made while we were working together that I didn't know about, but you had a whole alliance outside of that. So instead, I would like each of you to compliment each juror.
I would love to do that. Also, maybe there is one sort of move that maybe you guys didn't know about, but when I won that advantage at the, not advantage, like the covered item at the auction, I told my alliance that it was information in tomorrow's banishment. And that was like true in the sense, but it was like 2 truths and a lie was what the actual advantage was. So it was, there's an instant banishment tomorrow. There will be a final 2, and Colleen's idol was from clue number 2. And so I knew that Scott had found Colleen's idol because he told me. And so I just was like, did you find that before or after I found my advantage? And he was like, after. And I was like, okay, cool. So there's not going to be a final 2. But that's like a middle school thing. To compliment the jurors, I'll start in the order I said shalom to them. Or, I mean, that means hello. So goodbye, whatever that is. Micah, I think you and I have very similar personalities, and I would have really liked to work with you in the game. You're really just like cool and stuff, but like, and I like your hair and how it changes, and that high school pic of you was iconic. Nicholas, you have a certain energy that I wish I had, and it's big Nick energy, but I really don't have that, and I'm envious of that because you are similar to me, in which I know you really, really love these sort of games, but you just show it in a different way, and you were very outspoken this whole game, and I appreciate that. Keith, I think you're so just like, I don't know, I didn't get to know you that well, but you were just like a gentleman. You were like nice, and we talked about Big Brother, and you were like, oh my God, that's so funny. Like, just like little things. So I'd like to get to know you better at this game, outside of this game. Scott, I have so many good things to say about you, but I just like how open you were with me throughout this experience. And I felt like I could connect on a different level with you more so than anyone else. And like, we were just really honest with each other about our feelings throughout this game. So I'm glad you were able to open up to me. Joey, you are a person I've never met before, and you can have a conversation so well. Like, you can turn a dull conversation into something so like funny. And I think we talked about like our high school reunion experiences like for so long, and about how Chad from the baseball team was like, hey, if you want to like have kids one day, like I'll donate sperm. And you're like, that's not how it works, but thank you, Chad. So like, I just can't wait to get to know you better outside this game as well. Joanna, I respect your honesty so much. And I think that's something that I didn't, because this is a game and because we were separated for a bit, I was unsure whether or not that I could fully trust you early on in the merge, but you were honest with me and you voted however I thought you were going to vote for this whole time. So I respect your upfront like attitude throughout this experience. And finally, Katie, I think I love how you love talking about food and chips and drinks, and like, you were so welcome to any Canadian question I had. Like, I would just think of something remotely Canadian and just message you and be like, hey, like, why are they not called Smarties in Canada? And then we would just talk about random crap for 15 more minutes. So I really appreciate your like why you came to this game to make friends and how well you did because of it. And yeah, thank you all jurors.
I'll go. I'll go in the order that I see everyone. Joey, you are the most genuine, kindest person I've ever met. And I'm so sad that I was not able to work with you, because every conversation we had was the easiest conversation I was ever had. And I want to do more tarot readings with you. Please. Nicholas, I admire how much you are unapologetically yourself and how you leaned into those. The way you took on this game and the strategy and the way you were so competitive about it, like, I want to take that. I like use that a lot in my drag, but I want to use that into me and my personal life as well. Micah, I am a very dramatic person and I have trouble hiding my feelings. And I admire how calm and collective you've been through this entire game. And I hope that I can find that sense of calm too. Katie, we have probably had the most real connection that I've had in anybody in this game. And whenever I talked to you, it did not feel like we were playing this game. And I'm so thankful that you picked me first in the daisy chain. Joanna, your passion and drive is literally something that anybody wishes they could have. Your love for your family and all the accomplishments that you've done and have gone through. And it's just like, I hope I can achieve an ounce of that you have. Scott, you have incredible taste in music. I'm sorry that I was sketched out by you at the beginning, but I'm thankful for all the times that we've worked together. I love your mustache, and I'm sorry that Katie shot her shot before I could. Keith, you are the most real, genuine person as well. I loved talking about Big Brother with you. It's literally an honor to be playing this game with you as well. And even though you didn't trust Scott and you in return didn't trust me, I still wanted you to be in this game for as long as you could. And I wanted to be by your side. So I appreciate you.
All right. I think I'll also go in order of how I see people. Keith, You are one of the sweetest people I have met. And I can't wait to start geeking out about the new Inuyasha reboot that's coming out. You are such a renaissance man. You not only do so much like STEM stuff, but you also write beautiful poetry. And as we've all seen, you can really kill it with jumping jacks. Scott, I think you are someone who always surprises me because I feel like I can understand you, and then someone mysteriously pulls out a fact about you, like the fact that you're really good at karaoke, which is something I can't wait to hear and see. Micah, you're someone that I wish I had connected with a lot earlier, and I think a lot of our conversations got cut short, unfortunately, just because of the structures of the game. But I think your humor is so fucking funny, and I can't wait to share memes with you. I'm gonna save Katie for last, but moving on to Joanna, you are such a strong person. I think one of the first things that we talked about was just anxiety in general. And, you know, from the get-go, I was just like, oh, like Joanna's so calm and so confident. That was something that you shared with me that totally surprised me, and I never would have guessed. And all of the things that you do with such confidence while also dealing with anxiety is such an inspiration for me, and something that, you know, moving forward and going beyond this game is something that I really want to capture. Joey, you are someone I think I've referred to you a few times as having golden retriever energy. And it's because you're so upbeat and relentlessly positive. And that's an energy that I wish I could bring to every conversation, to meeting every new stranger that I ever see. You know, I know a lot of our talks were kind of game focused or like, but your just genuine optimism and energy is something that I really want to take into my own life. And Nicholas, in the same vein, your absolute confidence and your just ability to unabashedly be you. I talk a lot about bravery in this game, and you have played one of the bravest games in this game because it's really hard to go out there and say things bluntly and directly and to such a large audience. And the fact that you did it and you went out on such a chaotic note is going to be such a memorable moment for the rest of this season. And then finally, Katie, I wanted to save you for last because you brought such joy into my life in the last few weeks. I'm so grateful to have met you because you really lit up the room with just your energy, your happiness, also not just happiness, but your ability to be vulnerable with us, I think really unlocked a lot of doors for us, because this is a game where it's really hard to be vulnerable and to be really open with people. And the fact that you did it, and I think really inspired all of us to really open up our hearts. So I'm so excited to have met you, and I can't wait to actually meet you in person one day, maybe in Canada.
Ian Muckler, please mute your camera. Katie, did you have any follow-ups?
No, that was very nice. Thank you.
Okay, before we go to closing statements, if you all just want to throw a compliment my way. No, I'm totally kidding. We're going to do closing statements. And we will begin with Erica. Erica, whenever you're ready, please begin.
Cool. So at one of my first banishments, I think it was a Devante banishment, I talked about, I think the question posed to me was, why would you knowingly let someone who's a threat stay in the game with you? And I talked about wanting to play a game against people that fascinated me and excited me. And, you know, if I took that gamble and it led to me getting voted out, then fine. That's something I wanted to own because I wanted the excitement and joy of losing to a person that I really admire. It's kind of like this like shonen anime trope that was just something that was following me in this game. But I'm so excited to be here tonight and to share this stage with Tommy and Jody because they both played amazing games, really brave games in a very hard and intense game. And I really admire them so much. So no matter who you choose tonight, I think will be such a well-deserved choice. I know there are a lot of ways to judge this game from the get-go. There's mental, social, and physical, but there are more determining factors in that about resume building, jury management, and just the emotional connections, because I know voting in this game can be a matter of the heart. So I'm not going to tell you how you should judge us or how you should vote, but I encourage you to take this information that we've given you all with an open heart and an open mind, because there are so many ways that you can determine success in this game. For myself, it was a lot of sticking to my principles that I had set out in this game. Maybe I'm a coward for not being able to go for the jugular and vote out people I felt really close to. But this was also a game that I wanted to play where it was all about mutual respect, of cooperation, of working with people and trusting them fully, because I would not have made it here had I not trusted in people absolutely. And I think that's a philosophy that I think a lot of people should carry into their own lives and their communities beyond this game. Thank you all. I'm so excited for this game to finally be over so I can eat dinner and actually talk to you guys without some sort of mask on my face.
Thank you, Erica. We're now going to go to Tommy.
I am so incredibly thankful to be here, and I'm so incredibly thankful to have played this game with all of you. This is the first time in a really long time that I've been really, really proud of myself and felt confident in the things that I've done. And I cannot believe the well-rounded game that I've been able to play. I did not expect to win as many individual immunities as I could in a social immunity where people just gave me money, in a mental challenge, in a physical challenge, and the most crucial ones too, the way I was able to strategize through this game and make my plans go through and connect with make real connections with people and be able to make real cool moves with the people around me is just something I'm incredibly proud of. And I hope that you can see that I was not a cowardly player, that I did strategize and that I did play this game, even if it wasn't as visible to all of you straight away. So I'm proud of where I've gotten. I'm proud of the three of us for getting here, and I'm really proud of everyone that has played this game. And please vote as you wish.
Thank you, Tommy. And now we're going to go to Jody.
Like I was saying before, it's like I am such an introverted person, but I'm such a fan of this sort of game. So to put myself out there and play how I did, it ultimately equals pride for me, because my goal was to get to the end. But you have to play a game that not only gets you to the end, but a game that wins. So I really pushed myself in the social aspect and was able to work as hard as I could to maintain relationships with kind of every person in the game that was beneficial to my game, and being cutthroat when I needed to. I came here with the intention of just doing anything to get to the end. And I'm someone who, I didn't care if I had to lie to you. I'm happy that I did ultimately, because it's why I'm sitting here. I'm someone who found an advantage the very first one, and I decided to hold on to it until the very last minute and the last time I could play it. So I'm really proud of that move as well. And I told Alliance members about that, and they could have taken me out any chance they could have, but I held on to it until I needed it. And I also won a crucial immunity in this game before the double vote. And that just moves like that have really protected me. And sometimes you need luck, and sometimes you need confidence, and sometimes you need perception. And all three of those things have really helped me out in this game. I'm super excited that I got to play with all of you. Vote for whoever you want to vote for. I'm sorry, I'm not always the most articulate person, but I love you guys, and I'm so thankful for this experience and the producers and sitting here with Tommy and Erica, the spies. We somehow did it. All right.
Thank you, Jody. Thank you, all three of you, for your closing statements. It is now time to vote. You will be slacking me directly with who you would like to win, who you would like to win. I'm going to begin with Micah. Micah, please slack me who you'd like to vote for. Nicholas, please slack me who you'd like to vote for. Keith, please slack me who you'd like to vote for. Scott, please slack me who you'd like to vote for. Joanna, please slack me who you'd like to vote for. Oh, I skipped Joey. Sorry. Joey, slack me who you'd like to vote for. Now, Joanna, please slack me who you'd like to vote for. Joanna, I wish you could vote for me. That would be incredible. Katie, please slack me who you'd like to vote for. Okay, awesome. I'm going to count the votes. I'm not going to reveal them right now. I will, of course, reveal them tomorrow at the reunion, which is at 4:30 p.m. PT. I want to say a big thank you to our jurors and a thank you to our final three contestants. Really proud of all of you. Incredible job. Thank you for showing up tonight, giving this your all. We do have two reminders. One is you can still vote for fan favorite up until tonight, 12 p.m. PT. You Venmo me at Kelsey-Krasnogor with who you'd like to vote for. We're going to close that tonight. Otherwise, QI Reply will be on after this tonight. It's with Britt, who is season 2 winner, and Aaron, who is season 3 winner. And then, of course, just because you guys know I'm a touchy-feely, before we end tonight, genuinely, all of you guys here tonight, so proud of you. Would love to have the audience turn on their cameras, give a little clappy clap, a little hi hello, a little yay. Look at all these cuties, so many. Oh, Jerry, you have broccoli. Thank you all so much for coming tonight. Love you, appreciate you. Have a good night, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.